Okay guys, we may be seeing what the tropics have been saving up all their energy for during this lull of silence that we've seen. Hi there, my name is Eric. I'm an aspiring meteorologist working my way towards my atmospheric science degree, and today's analysis is one of those rare setups that makes me kind of stop and go, wow, this is actually pretty interesting. It is September 24th, 2025, and the tropics are showing signs of a rare couplet interaction between two systems. Two soon-to-be tropical cyclones playing tug-of-war with each other, leaving the Bahamas and the East Coast on edge. Now the questions are, will these systems merge into one big beast? Will the US East Coast see two separate landfalls at the same time? Or will this just fizzle up into some more harmless fish storms? The models have been jumping back and forth, and I'm here to break down the science and let you know of the most likely outcome. Now the first question a lot of people ask is, when they see two storms this close, are we about to get an apocalyptic like superstorm if both of these storms end up merging? Here's the reality. Yes, storms can merge, and one storm may feed the other storm a little bit, but it's not always as dramatic as Hollywood makes it out to look, I guess, if you could say. The stronger storm only benefits a little, and the interaction is usually chaotic. Now, when two full-blown tropical cyclones get close to each other, they usually don't merge, so to speak. They dance around a central point, just like two binary stars in orbit. This is called the Fujiwhara effect. But that's not exactly what we're seeing here. You see the storm to the east, which was literally just named Tropical Storm Humberto, is racing the western Caribbean storm to powerful tropical cyclone status. And right now, Humberto is winning. As we get further down the line here, what we're essentially going to be having is one now tropical cyclone pulling away the upper level support from the smaller western storm. The weaker system tries to organize and even looks symmetric in some runs, but it leaves behind what I pretty much like to call, in this case, a husk. A lot of these model runs we've been seeing, even though they're just like a couple days ago, were showing this second system further to the west moving up towards the US coast, but it looks symmetrical, but there's no defined low pressure system on the model run in the center of it. Essentially, it can't close off a consistent surface low. This is a rarer phenomenon than the Fujiwhara effect. However, it explains why models have been showing Humberto tilting and overpowering its neighboring system as time goes on. And this could be before the second one even has a chance to become a depression. Now let's talk guidance. We're going to break down the science, and I'm going to show you where exactly it is these storms are expected to go and what this interaction is going to look like based on the information we have right now. Going into next week, the GFS shows Humberto overpowering its neighboring storm. Conversely, the Euro model disagrees. It keeps both storms alive for longer, showing a tug-of-war pattern. Humberto pulls the eastern storm to the northeast briefly, and then a steering pattern then takes the storm back to the coast, meaning a potential landfall as far north as New England. Hey, it's me. Just a quick little interjection. My lazy ass is taking a sweet ass time editing this video, so the latest models as of the day of uploading do show the storm heading into South Carolina, and the GFS also reciprocates that, but keep in mind things can change, and I will also provide an actual up-to-date video here soon as the storm gets closer, but just wanted to put that in the video. Okay, continue. So what we're seeing is not just one outcome, it's a fork in the road. And it all depends on which storm makes it to the race of being powerful enough to stay out of each other's business, essentially. At this point, like I said, Humberto is winning that race. But if that Eastern Invest, which is Invest 93L, I believe, if it manages to make its own soon enough, then it won't be influenced as much by Humberto. It also depends on a lot of other atmospheric conditions in the environment that they're in. So I want to touch on the upper dynamics that occur and the science behind that. As you can see, you can barely really even see that western system as Humberto makes its way northward. That system would be roughly about here, and previous models actually showed, even on this run, a more defined low pressure system. So in this case, there would be a lot of different things happening at different levels of the atmosphere. Now, a typical cyclone needs upper level diffluence in order to breathe, essentially recycle that air that it's pushing up into the atmosphere with its low pressure system on the surface. In this case of the northern hemisphere, this motion is clockwise, while on the surface that inflow is counterclockwise. Humberto's upper level diffluence causes a counteracting motion against the diffluence of the eastern or the western system in this little region here. So this essentially acts as wind shear, and what this does is it not only just chokes the western system of air that needs to return, but it also causes the system to tilt, and it prevents it from consistently maintaining that chimney effect that every cyclone needs. That upper level diffluent air also eventually becomes, once again, the surface level inflow for the storm, and the lower levels, Humberto is also robbing, will also be robbing that western system of those surface, that surface and mid-level inflow, which would also choke out the system. Moisture mostly seems ample throughout most of the tropical Atlantic right now. In this case, with the Euro model, it looks like the next system would probably be battling quite a bit of dry air, but again, this is far out, so we don't know if it'll exactly play out like this. But you can see both of them maintain pretty consistent moisture, especially Humberto. Like I said, even early on, the eastern system, or the western system, battles quite a bit of dry air. Looking at the Euro ensemble, you can see it's pretty much just all over the place. The black line here in the center of it all is essentially the mean. It's the average of all the models. It's not necessarily the most likely outcome, but you could kind of say that's essentially what it is. As variables change, it will be revealed to us that any one of these outcomes could occur. You can see it's probably split 50-50, maybe 60-40. A lot of models show it going out to sea, and then the other bits show it going into the East Coast. GFS is not much different either, but it looks like maybe it trends a bit more out to sea. So for Humberto, it is most likely that this is going to be a fish storm. There's one Euro model here that shows it making a trek towards North Carolina, but everything else pretty much strongly supports a turn out to the sea. This is the GFS model for the same storm. Already the western system is bringing squalls and rain bands into the Caribbean islands. The Bahamas are next in line. Now, down the line, if we to specify impacts to the U.S., which of course I know people on the East Coast are concerned about, the more likely culprit would be this one here, and that's if it doesn't get absorbed by Humberto as it makes its approach. And even if it doesn't, it's still possible that it will just go out to sea. As you could see from the models, it's pretty 50-50 on that. So nothing is set in stone. There is still a lot of uncertainty with the models, and as we go into next week and then the week after that, we need to just keep an eye on these systems. So there's no need to panic. This is just merely something to keep an eye on, and even if it becomes a direct impact, don't panic. Just prepare. That's the best thing that you can do for yourself. As Ryan Hall says, be prepared, not scared. Sea surface temperatures are plenty warm to provide fuel for these storms, especially Humberto. There is a patch of cooler air, and the currents are bringing some colder waters to the shores here. As usual this time of the year, however, most of this water here in the Caribbean around the Bahamas is warm enough to allow for prior amping up of that western storm. And then Humberto is plenty of fuel to work with as it makes its way further east. I'll keep tracking this as we move forward, and in the next section we are going to take a look at U.S. local weather over the next 3 days. Previous couple days we saw some severe weather in the plains in Oklahoma and Kansas, and that weather is now advancing forward into today, what is now the 24th, into some scattered thunderstorms we've seen here even in southeast Texas. I actually woke up this morning eagerly hearing some thunder, and I saw that it was windy, and I was actually kind of happy to see that. This is all associated with that shortwave trough that I talked about in the previous video, which actually played out exactly how I thought it would. My advanced outlook was that a shortwave trough would pass through on the 24th, and that's exactly what we have going on here. Into Thursday, tomorrow, that cold front associated with that shortwave trough advances forward, and the general rainy weather trends eastward, but we will see kind of a downtick in precipitation rates, mostly in the southeast, and even in the northeast, scattered rainstorms and locally heavy rainfall. Over in Arizona and New Mexico tomorrow, you can expect some actually heavy rain, potential flash flooding, as this high pressure system funnels in moisture from Southern California. That's actually working with this low pressure system here in Southern California, and it's essentially funneling in that moisture from the Pacific, and it's probably interacting with colder air out here, and thus creating storms in this region, even though there's that high pressure system there, which would otherwise just suppress. But because of this positioning here, that's what's happening. That's what will be happening tomorrow. Up in Washington and parts of northern Oregon, there's critical fire weather. So for those of you in that area, you want to heed your local ordinances about burn bans and whatnot, just so you don't cause any wildfires. Going into Friday, we can see pretty much a similar trend. That front doesn't advance very far forward, and it actually stalls here along the east coast, and most of the precipitation rates continue to simmer down, and you'll just see some local rainstorms throughout the southeast. Still have the same threat here in Arizona that stays pretty stationary, actually, so that's probably what's going to allow for a lot of that flash flooding to happen, is how long that lingers there for. Probably see some slightly cooler temperatures here in Montana and the Dakotas as a colder air mass makes its way down, but the plains and elsewhere are all going to see some pretty calm weather, as it's mostly dominated by high pressure. Like I said, all of this is being fueled by that shortwave trough that I expected to come in, and it actually played out exactly how I thought it would in my last video when I was talking about just my kind of little mini advanced outlook, I guess you can say. That shortwave trough came in exactly when it would here on the 24th, so that's what's creating most of that weather. As for temperature outlook, much of the US is going to be relatively warm. So like I said in the last video as well, we're going to probably have to look to October for cooler temperatures. It looks like the west might cool off a little bit. Very long term, the model shows a fall breeze make its way down, probably likely with a trough, but this is so far out again that this likely isn't going to happen. So to sum it up, just going to have to be patient for October to come by for us to get our fall weather that we've been looking for. And that brings everything in this video together. That is what we have going on. I'll keep tracking these weather systems as we move forward. Found this video helpful and informative. I'd appreciate it if you could leave a like and consider subscribing if you'd like more content like this. I'm going to have storm chasing content. I also will be doing some gaming content and a bunch of other stuff, but the main focus is weather for this channel. But anyhow, take care, stay safe out there, and I'll see you in the next one. You are the storm.